Hey, everybody. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining me again for another God Nugget for Kids. And I hope that you're having a great week. The weather has been spectacular, which is a great thing because this is the last week before school starts for many of you. And so I hope that you were able to enjoy your last break from school before you jump back into things. And how nice it is when you can do lots of outside things all week long without having to put up with the rain. Well, today, as you can see, I have brought something with me for the lesson, and this is a replica of a type of bird known as a sharp-shinned hawk. Yeah, that's its name, sharp-shinned hawk. Now, this particular hawk is a bird that was carved by a friend of mine who he died a few years ago, but he loved to carve birds, and this is one that he gave to me as a gift, and I just love it. One of the reasons I like this bird is that I've never actually seen one in the wild that I know of. But they live here around Michigan, and so it's not impossible that we could stumble across one of these guys. And something that's interesting to note is that this particular carving is not too far off of the typical size for an adult male sharp-shinned, or sometimes they're called Sharpies. This is actually about that size, maybe a little bit bigger, but these guys are serious little powerhouses. In fact, of all of the different kinds of hawks that you might see in Michigan, I almost said that are indigenous to our state, but that was kind of a big word, indigenous. That just means they live here. But if you come across a hawk in Michigan, there are a few different species of hawks. The Sharpie is going to be the smallest. And do not let the size of this little bird fool you. This bird is an aggressive hunter. In the bird life, or in the bird world, this is known as a raptor, and this is a bird of prey. You've got to be careful if you're a little bunny, if you're a little kitty, if you are a small sparrow, or you're a little starling, because somebody like this guy right here might see you and be thinking about lunch, because that's what these birds do. They are very ferocious hunters. And not are they only great hunters, in the way that God designed these birds, they are super fast. I want you to think about the fastest car or the fastest motorcycle you can imagine that can zip around curves and can go around corners and not lose control. That's what these birds do. They live in places just like my backyard where they have to fly in and out of trees and swerve around in order to chase down their lunch. And they are zippy and they are very, very agile. So these are pretty amazing birds. And if you ever come across one and you like to train birds, which some people do, if you've ever seen people train falcons, they're called falconers, you can actually train a bird just like this. Some people might call this an American sparrowhawk because that's what they love to eat is sparrows. Well, the whole reason that I brought this bird in to show you is not just because he's such a pretty carving and is such an interesting bird. I brought him because it reminds me of something that's true for every kid. And that is that even if you are small, that doesn't mean that you can't do amazing things for God. Let me set my hawk back here on the table. And let me tell you, I'll get out of the camera so you can still see him. In one of the letters that the Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, he said this to Timothy: "Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. Speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. 5 areas. What's interesting to me about this is that Timothy was not a kid. Timothy was a grown man, but he was a very young man. And for being a pastor, he was also a young man. And sometimes when you're a young man and you have to talk with older people or even older men, sometimes they will look at you, even though you're a grown-up, they'll look at you like you don't really know what you're talking about, or isn't it cute that the young person wants to speak? Sometimes they're a little condescending and look down on even young adult men. Well, when you're a kid, it can be even worse. When you're a kid, sometimes the grown-ups just want you to go off and play. They don't really want you around when they're talking. And the truth is, sometimes you just want to be around them because you want to learn. And I think it's great when a kid wants to spend time with grown-ups, because that's how you learn to be a grown-up, is you hang around them. I want you to know that even though what Paul wrote here in 1 Timothy 4 was written to a young man, I think it's okay if you think about it for yourself as well. Because you, even though you are a kid, you can be an example to other Christians in the 5 categories. In the faith, I've got to find my verse here. There it is. In love, faith, purity, speech, and conduct. That means your behavior. I'll say them again. I'll say them in order. Speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. As you make decisions every day, and you can make decisions about the things you say, the way you behave, the way you trust in God, the moral decisions that you make to do what is right. You can do all of these things every day. And when you do them, you can be a great example to older people like me, who will actually be very inspired by your level of Christianity. So even though you're young, let that never stand in the way of being a great example to Christians everywhere. I hope that you will be growing in your faith this week. I'm praying for you. I'm thankful for you. And I pray that you would stand on the shoulders of all the rest of the adult Christians who you know, so that you can reach higher and go farther and do greater things for God than we ever could. It's possible. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. I hope that you have a great day. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.